Hello and welcome to the ROZEE Power Talks session. My name is Tamkinat and we're here today with the CEO of FINCA Microfinance Bank, Mr. Mudassar Aqil. What we're going to be talking about today is microfinance and its role in Pakistan's economy. So we're going to start things off with the basic questions. What is microfinance and how does that differ from the usual banking facilities?
So microfinance is providing financial services to the low-income people of the world. In a simple definition, that's what it means. So currently about more than 50% of the world's population does not have access to a bank account of any kind. So this means a regular bank account, any kind of loan, or even any kind of insurance product. So the advent of microfinance started about 4 decades ago, and Dr. Yunus really brought it to prominence by starting Grameen Bank from Bangladesh, and FINCA also started the microfinance movement about 3 decades ago from Latin America.
How has microfinance performed in Pakistan's economy in the recent years?
Well, I think the measurement of impact of microfinance in Pakistan's economy in terms of usual economic metrics would be somewhat difficult. So, if you were to ask me what's the impact in terms of GDP, etc. But I can tell you some statistics in terms of, what impact it has had in terms of access to finance. So right now, 85% of the people in Pakistan do not have access to any kind of formal financial services. And roughly 20 million people have a bank account. Out of a population of 200 million, only 20 million have a bank account. When it comes to the access to credit, the things are even more dismal. So roughly 4% of the population has taken a loan from a bank of any kind. And if you look at the people who are employed overall in the country, about 75% of the people who live in the urban population are employed at a small or micro enterprise. Whereas if you go to the rural sector, more than 80% of the people farm on a piece of land which is less than 5 acres in size, right? So these are essentially the Pakistan's economic engine is being run by small entrepreneurs and small farmers, no matter where you go, either in a city or in a village. So these people essentially are excluded from the financial services sector. So today in Pakistan, there are 4.3 million people who are getting a loan from a microfinance institution. So that's the contribution that microfinance sector is making. But still there's a long way to go, because the size of a microfinance segment overall is estimated about at 24 million potential borrowers. So we have only reached out to 4 million so far, so we still have another 20 million to go.
What is the specific target market for microfinance industries, and does it also empower women with its small and micro businesses?
Absolutely. So 51% of Pakistan's population is female, so women are an integral part of the target segment for microfinance. And traditionally, the way microfinance started all over the world, the first clients were predominantly women. And one of the reasons why microfinance particularly focuses on the female segment is the research has shown that when a woman becomes financially empowered, they actually invest in the well-being of their family. So they want to make sure that they save to improve the quality of living. They want to invest in the nutrition of the kids, the kind of food that they're eating, and most importantly, they invest in their education also. So traditionally, microfinance started from the rural areas of the world, and by creating a group of women and giving them the small amounts of loan in equal amounts to all of the members of the group. and then they would give what is called a cross guarantee. So if one person would default, the rest of the members of the group will pay for it. So the same model was applied in Pakistan as well. Solidarity lending. So what it means is that if you are giving loan to one individual and there are 5 individuals in a group, so if one individual does not pay the loan, the rest of the people will pay for it. So it's called cross guarantee or solidarity lending.
Does that work?
It works very well. So so if you think about it, the people who live in very small houses and run very small businesses have hardly any assets traditionally, right? So they cannot really provide any collateral, and financial institutions who want to take an exposure on them by giving them a loan would like to get some kind of comfort. So to start with, for that individual that we haven't had any kind of experience with, this was a very successful model that you create a group of people who have similar needs, and then you give them an equal amount of loan, and then have them collectively act as each other's guarantor. And that's the traditional microfinance model.
What kind of collateral do you need for microfinance loans?
Well, traditionally, majority of our borrowers do not have any meaningful asset that can be used as a collateral. So, for instance, in case of FINCA, 92% of our loans are without any kind of collateral. But there is a small percentage of the population who has built some assets that can be used as a collateral. For instance, a lot of people in Pakistan put their savings in gold. So a lot of women have gold ornaments, which are essentially not only act as a jewelry, but also as a form of savings also. So we do accept from those borrowers who otherwise would not be able to qualify for a loan, they can get a loan by using gold as a collateral.
How has that affected the overall economic growth of Pakistan's economy?
Well, I think so. This is a technical question, so I'll try to answer it as simply as possible. So, if you look at how many people have come out of poverty in Pakistan, there's been actually quite a massive amount of improvement over the last 2 decades. So there are 2 or 3 different definitions. I won't get into which definition to use to define poverty, but no matter whichever definition we're looking at, there's millions of people have now improved their standard of living and come above the line of poverty in Pakistan. So, one could argue that microfinance has played a very large role in that. But there are so many different factors that contribute to people coming out of poverty. Access to finance is one of them, and very important one at that. So, to my knowledge, there is no study that conclusively quantifies the impact of microfinance in Pakistan, but FINCA on its own conducts a study that is done in all the 21 countries where FINCA is present all over the world, and Pakistan also participates in it. So what we have gathered from our research in Pakistan, that we have given about loans to close to 500,000 small and micro enterprises in the last 7 years, and we have disbursed over 30 billion rupees to these businesses, and we have recovered over 99% of these successfully back. So these people are paying back on time, and in the process we have created about 100,000 jobs. So these people who were taking loans from us were then investing these loans in their businesses, and those businesses were growing, and that created about 100,000 new jobs. And in that process, because the economic chain continues, we have impacted close to 1.2 million households. So that's a FINCA's impact. Now, FINCA is only about 10% of the microfinance banking segment. So I would say, I could argue that you can easily multiply this by 10 and say that at a minimum is the impact of microfinance in the last less than a decade.
Would you say microfinancing was an integral part of Pakistan's economy, and hypothetically, what would the absence of such institutions reflect on the current state of the financial sector?
So let me just take a step back and just sort of frame this, that why is it important, right? So I mean, an average person would probably question that, how does the quality of living of a poor person would improve if you give him or her a bank account? So first of all, we need to understand that every individual, regardless of their economic level in the country or in the market, have certain financial needs, right? So you have a need to transact, right? So on a daily basis, you want to make small payments to purchase things or receive payments if you're selling something, right? So there's a transactional need. You need to pay your bills, etc., etc. Then there is a need to save. So you want to set aside some amount of money so you can use it for when you need it later on, and you need a safe place to save, right? So you can't save under your mattress all the time. You can't put money in a jar in the house all the time. You need a safe place to save. The third need is that you have a need to borrow, right? So a lot of time you want to acquire an asset and you don't have all the money up front, but you can pay it over a period of time. A lot of time, your cash flows are inconsistent. So when you need the money and when you get the money, there's a gap in that. So that's called income smoothing loans. You need to give people loans so they can survive in that time period until they get the income that they're expecting. So everybody has a need to borrow. I mean, I don't think anyone, including myself and you, we all need to borrow. And then when people have enough savings, or when people get to a certain point in their life, then you have a need to invest. Right, so you want to invest for the future. You want to make an investment that you can, reap benefit from down the road. And last but not the least, you have a need to insure. Right, so insure you from any kind of emergency or catastrophe, that anything that can go wrong. So you need to buy an insurance policy for that also. These are really the basic financial needs that literally apply to every single human being. So if you don't give 85% of the people in your country access to these basic financial needs, it actually sets them up for failure to become an important agents in the economic development of the country. So not only in Pakistan, but globally, research has shown that access to finance is one of the most fundamental pieces of intervention that can be made to have the most meaningful impact on the state of human life. Because of that, I mean, when you look at some of the biggest non-profit organizations in the world, which are making the most specific interventions to have an impact on quality of living all over the world, such as Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, even Google has started Innovation Challenge. All of them are focusing on that access to finance should be a part of it.
How do the government policies, if any, facilitate the microfinancing structure?
Well, I think there are two parts to it. One is that government essentially sets up regulating agencies, right? So, and if the right legal structures are available and strong regulators are there to set up the rules of the game, then that's a very important part that the government has played. So that's one thing that Pakistan has done really well, that we have in the State Bank of Pakistan a very competent and a very highly regarded regulator, based on its reputation all over the world. So Pakistan is one of the few countries in the world where there are a separate set of regulations available for microfinance institutions, because a lot of time the banking regulations are just catering to the large commercial banks, and the needs of microfinance banks or microfinance institutions are actually in some ways very different and requires a different set of regulations. So Pakistan introduced a microfinance ordinance, so State Bank of Pakistan, should I say, introduced microfinance banking ordinance in 2001. So we have had it for the last 15 years. Then the branchless banking regulation was introduced in 2008. So Pakistan was again one of the first few countries in the world that was ahead of the curve in terms of introducing mobile banking regulations in Pakistan. And as a result, Pakistan, I believe, is the second or third fastest growing mobile banking market globally right now.
How has FINCA contributed to the prevailing financial needs of the people?
Yeah, so I mean, quite a few things. So the first thing is that Pakistan is a large country. Pakistan has 110 million adults. Majority of them do not have a bank account. So just to give you some perspective, that there are 130 million people who are using a mobile SIM, and then there are only roughly 20 million people who are using a bank account. So you know, look at the delta. So there's a lot more that needs to be done, and the government of Pakistan has set up a vision under the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, where 50% of the population, or roughly 50 million people who are adults, will have access to a bank account by 2020. Right? So FINCA is playing an important part in the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, and we have now embarked on working on launching our own mobile wallet, which will be what we call a digital wallet. So this is a smartphone-based wallet, and Pakistan and FINCA will be the first player in Pakistan which is introducing a purely smartphone-based mobile wallet in the country. It's really the next generation of mobile banking solutions that we are introducing, and we are in the pilot phase for the last few months already, and we believe that this will play a big part in financial inclusion in Pakistan.
It seems to be taking off quite well, because we've also tried using the mobile wallet, but what I want to know is, by making money so accessible, how do you ensure the safety? Because people operate with banks on the basis of trust, right? So by making it accessible on your phone, where you can transfer it, what if your phone gets stolen? So how do you counter those arguments?
So there are two ways it is done. The number one is that we are regulated by the State Bank of Pakistan that has very strict standards of safety, and you have to build certain protection and control and security mechanisms from an IT standpoint and otherwise. So we have to comply with all of those standards before we are given license to actually launch the product in the market. The second thing is that internally also FINCA has very strict guidelines on customer privacy and customer security, so that we have to comply with those as well. And then we are employing the best of the breed mobile banking platform that we are purchasing, that we have implemented, and also the security features that we have bought and implemented are really the highest tier, the cutting edge work which is being done in the world. So everything in our power that we are doing to make sure that customer data and customer funds are and will remain secure.
We have noticed that FINCA offers really attractive returns on your product savings. So how does that fit in your business model, and what's in it for the saver to bank with FINCA?
So so our business model is actually quite interesting. So although savings are just as integral to a low-income entrepreneur, just as borrowing, but in the existing banking model, where predominantly in Pakistan the banking is done using either a branch or lately, ATMs, and then, there is some banking that you can do using call center, etc. And then the start of agent-based banking that started in 2008, and there are various agent-based mobile banking solutions that were introduced. But the challenge was that all the mobile based banking solutions are fairly expensive. So they have become essentially a very good service to make essentially payments to people, right? So if you want to send somebody money, no matter where they are in the country, you can use one of these payment schemes and send somebody money. But you'll end up paying, as much as 4 to 5% in fees, 4 to 5% of the amount that you are actually sending to someone, right? So as a result, this is not really a good solution for saving, and not really a good real banking solution, but a very effective payment solution, or what we call remittance. So our model is that we have to attract money from those people who have money, right? So these are our depositors, and then we use that money to give money to essentially small entrepreneurs, no matter if they are in the rural segment or in the urban segment. So and these people, our clients, pay back on time. So our repayment rate is very good. We collect 99% of the loans back successfully. So our loan write-offs are very low, and these loans also produce a healthy yield. So as a result, it enables us to give a good profit rate to our depositors also. So this is a win-win really situation, that we have a great rate for our depositors, and at the same time they have the peace of mind and the sense of comfort that they're actually making a contribution, where their money is now being put to use to actually help a small entrepreneur somewhere in Pakistan who is using that money to grow their business.
What future possibilities do you see for microfinancing given the current technological progression?
I think we're just getting started. I think Pakistan is one of the most exciting markets in terms of the amount of change and innovation that's coming in financial services. Pakistan is very, very well positioned in terms of the infrastructure that's required for it to innovate and provide the best financial services to its population very quickly. So, in a country like Pakistan, where there is tremendous upside potential, I envision that in the next 5 to 7 years, roughly another 100 million people will come in the banking net. So, in the last 70 years, we've been able to bring only 20 million people in. We'll do 5 times more in the next 5 to 7 years, is what I'm predicting. And I think FINCA will play an important part in that. And a lot of this will be happening through the digital channel. So the access to mobile broadband, using 3G and 4G connectivity, and affordable smartphones are really making things happen and making things possible that were not possible even 2 years ago. So right now, roughly 40 million people in Pakistan already are using smartphones, and this number is projected to double in the next 2 years. This is making it possible that the playing field has leveled, and now smaller banks also have the ability to promote and offer their products and services to people in far-flung areas of the country. So I envision that this will trigger a new wave of innovation, a new wave of lot of new players coming into Pakistan, into financial services, and existing players also in collaborating with technology partners and creating new value for the consumers of Pakistan.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been incredibly insightful. Is there something else you would like to add?
No, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity, and I would like to take this opportunity to speak to all of the people who are watching this conversation. And these are people who already are on the digital channels. They are using Facebook. They have access to broadband. And I would invite them to try out FINCA's new mobile wallet, which will be launched very soon. It's in the pilot stage right now.
It will be on Play Store?
It will be on Play Store after the State Bank approval, but right now it is in a pilot phase. So we are in a hyper exclusive pilot where it is not open to everyone. But very soon they can come to our website, or they can go to Finja's website, which is a fintech partner in this initiative with us, and find out more about our mobile wallet. These early adopters who are comfortable with technology, we're really counting on them to try our product and then tell their friends and families and spread the word.
And thank you for tuning in. We hope this has been helpful to you. Please tune in the next time for an interesting session. I'm Tamkinat. Thank you and goodbye.